Welcome to Treasures from the Vault with Todd Sawatzky Appraisals. I'm Todd Sawatzky, and as you can see with all my masked friends over here, it's going to be a fun episode. Welcome back. As you can see with all these beautiful masks, now if you are a hockey fan, you are going to recognize each and every one of these. These are all replica masks of Hockey Hall of Famers. As my wonderful videographer and lovely wife Tiffany is going through. So I'm going to use a Terry Sawchuk mask as an example of what I mean by full-size masks. So when I take this mask as an example and I press it up against my face, it fits my face. Very flush, in fact. So this is designed to hopefully not let the puck get through if this was fiberglass. Now, this is not a fiberglass mask. This is a replica or souvenir, a display piece. So I'm going to turn this around. So if this was fiberglass, the color would be throughout. You wouldn't have a painted side and a non-painted side. You would also see there's no padding in here. This is made by some kind of ceramic or resin. If you were to drop this on a hard surface, this is very likely to crack. It is fairly durable, but I wouldn't want to do that. A fiberglass mask is able to absorb a puck shot, let alone a fall on the floor. So we'll just go over there. Now, as I indicated, these are all of Hockey Hall of Famers. This is of Jacques Plante. If you know your lovely heritage history on Canadian television, you will know that Jacques Plante was the very first goaltender to ever play an NHL game with a mask on. He is not the first person to ever experiment with a mask, but to play with one, yes. Jacques Plante, he was best known as a Montreal Canadian and helped them win a lot of Stanley Cups. Terry Sawchuk over here, I kind of like to call it the Frankenstein mask. It just kind of has that look to me. He's best known for his time with the Detroit Red Wings. However, he also helped the Toronto Maple Leafs win the Cup back in 1967. He's played with New York Rangers, Boston, even the Los Angeles Kings. We're going to move right over to this one. Johnny Bower, Toronto Maple Leaf. He is best known throughout his entire NHL career to not wear a mask. However, for the last number of games, he did use it. He, of course, is known to help along with Sawchuk, help the Toronto Maple Leafs win their last Stanley Cup back in 1967, along with several others. Right over here is an Eddie Giacomin mask. He used this similar style of mask with all the teams he played with. He's most notably known as a New York Ranger. However, as you can see, what almost appears to be flames for the eyes or eyebrows, that is actually the wing of the Detroit Red Wings. Right over here, we got Bernie Parent, a fantastic goaltender for the Philadelphia Flyers. He did briefly play with the Toronto Maple Leafs as well, but he's the one that guided the Philadelphia Flyers to all their Stanley Cups in the 1970s. And we got this far one here. This is an early style of mask of Hockey Hall of Famer Grant Fuhr of the Edmonton Oilers. This was one of his early style of masks. He moved on to a different one. You'll also maybe notice that you're not seeing any NHL logos on any of these bad boys. In particular, the Parent and the Fuhr. And that's because Mikulka, the manufacturer of these masks, did not have NHL licensing. However, they did have licensing to produce the masks. All right, so now that we've gone over the players, we've gone over how great they were, let's go back to the masks themselves. you have two different types and almost two different series, if you will, of these goalie masks. So using Terry here, Terry Sawchuk as an example, you will see that the stand that it is using, it's more on a flat base with a metal or aluminum stand. So you can prop it up and kind of position it the way you want. Now we're going to go right over here to the Johnny Bower, and this one is actually screwed on the bottom. So these display stands came with the masks, hence they are designed for to be displayed. Now, when we're coming to the value of these things, if none of these were signed, we'd be looking about, for the full size mask, we'd be looking at about $100 a pop. So beautiful looking masks, $100 to make a beautiful display of potentially your favorite goalie, your favorite team, goaltender collectors. It's actually a pretty nice little investment. Now, when you start getting them signed, that's where values can change, because every goaltender is going to have a slightly different value. We take Johnny Bower over here. He unfortunately passed away a few years ago, so therefore his autograph has increased over the last couple of years. Probably at the time of this being signed, it was probably about a $200 to $250 mask. Right now, I could see it easily going for $300 plus. The fact that it is personalized, if I were to resell this, it would probably bring the price down, because not everyone wants something personalized to someone else. However, if there's a Todd out there, he's not going to care too much. Eddie Jacquemin, Bernie Perrant, even Grant Fuhr, all these would probably be in the $200 to $250 range. All fantastic pieces, all wonderful display items, and absolutely gorgeous looking. When the signatures are on them, it looks absolutely gorgeous. All right, it's time for the Q&A. Tiffany, do we have any questions today?
Actually, yes, we received a question from a viewer asking about mini masks and if they hold any value.
Well, the very simple answer to that is yes, they do hold some value. And I do have some examples. We're going to stick with the Mikulka over here, and I'm just going to put this one right down here. This is a Mikulka made mini mask, as you can see by the size in comparison to the bigger full-size masks. It is probably retailed at the time for roughly $40 to $50. So if you're looking for a smaller item, or if that's just what is in your budget, a fantastic alternative to the bigger full-size masks. Also beautiful items to get signed if you're a collector in that regard. I have another really small version. Here is a Detroit Red Wings plastic mask. And when I flip this up, you can actually see that it is a bottle opener. So twist cap for the beer bottles. Fun little thing to have behind the bar, especially if you're a Wings fan. Of course, they made all the other teams as well. McDonald's also did a number of masks back around 1997 or so. This is the style that came out. Here is a Jocelyn Thibault Montreal Canadiens mini mask that you could purchase at McDonald's. Probably at the time, you could purchase it for about $6.99. It's about a $10 to $15 mask today. There are rarer ones of that style, which can uptick up to $100 if you got some of the testing versions and so on and so forth. But for the more common ones, Thibault included, $10 to $15 is roughly what that one's worth. Then about 2008, here is another style of McDonald's mask. And this one's a little different. So not only this is a Roberto Luongo of the Vancouver Canucks, but this one also, you can also flip it open. Well, it's a little bit tight right now. As you can see, it's not working over perfectly, but you can see the little figurine of there. Similar in prices. That item is probably worth in the $10 to $15 range, similar to that Jocelyn Thibault version. We'll go right back to the 1990s or 97 or so. This is a replica mask, mini mask, of former Florida Panthers goaltender John Van Beesbroek, or Beezer as he is known by his nickname. This is quite different from the other ones that you have on display. This, similar to this, it is made of plastic, but when you take a look at this, you'll see a lot more detail. Not only is the paint job a little bit cleaner, a little bit crisper, on the sides, you're actually going to see straps. Now, if it was a full-size mask, a full-size replica, those straps would definitely be leather. However, having the nylon clasps on it is a beautiful touch. And even when you look at the back of it, you will see the back plate. So that's what sits on the back of the goaltender's head to hold it in place. So a beautiful example of a mini mask. This one is probably similar to the Mikulka era style in the $40 to $50 range. So beautiful souvenirs. They look absolutely fantastic if they get signed, if you're an autograph collector. And let's face it, if you're a goalie collector, masks are amazing. Thank you for the great question. Now, as you can see with all these different types and styles of mini masks, there is a plethora, and there are other companies that make them. There's a lot of variety out there for being a mask collector. Now, if you're going back to the full-size masks, I've already discussed the value. However, there are a lot of collectors that like the full-size replica fiberglass masks. Now, if this was fiberglass, basically ready to use, if you really wanted to, we'd be looking at a value much higher in the $400 to $500 range per mask. And then take it even a step further. Once you start getting into custom painting, once you start getting into game used or game worn masks, especially of a certain vintage, the values can increase substantially. So fiberglass is definitely a heck of a lot more valuable than these souvenir style, but they're still wonderful display items and fun collectibles. Thank you for joining me from Treasures from the Vault with Todd Sawatzky Appraisals. As you can see, masks are a lot of fun, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have any comments or suggestions for any future videos, please feel free to add to the comments, and my social media links are listed. Thank you so much again, and until next time.